In your insert, you have the Unity's 5 goals as they come from unity.org, or 5 principles. Principles, not goals. Now, I talked about principle 1 and 2, and then last week you had Barb Christ here, and she talked about we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. And today I'm going to talk about the power of affirmative prayer. Now, the 5th principle, we will skip a week, because next week, I forgot to announce that the YOU are going to be here. Yeah. So, they will be talking about, actually, some of these principles kind of all woven in together. So it's really kind of a perfect timing and whatnot. And then we will conclude then the second week in February with the knowledge of these spiritual principles are not enough. We must live them. So today we're going to talk about affirmative prayer. And as you know, what we talk about is that we create our reality through our thoughts, through our beliefs, through our consciousness, through all that we are about. So we are constantly in this mode of creating. Affirmative prayer is for the purpose of moving us out of negative thinking and into the positive thinking, that which we want. Usually when we move into prayer, we want to change something, or we desire something. We want to manifest something, whatever that may be, right? So what we want to do then is get out of the way we are thinking and say something, start to think positive and create a more positive consciousness. Affirmative prayer is for that purpose. Now, affirmative prayer means that it affirms that which we want or desire or choose to manifest, all right? And it means that when we affirm it, we put it in the present tense. We affirm that it is already done. So we don't say, I affirm that I'm going to be healthy. We don't do that. Why? We say, I affirm that I am healthy. Now, there's a reason for that. If every thought that's going out into the creative law of creation, then if I'm going to be healthy, I'm stating that I'm going to be and I'm not. I'm going to be, but I'm not. So when am I going to be? Okay? So what we do is we put it into this presence. This is what my thought is creating the reality. So think about this. You're saying to yourself, well, I'm depressed. This weather's just pulling me down. And so on and so forth. What thought are you putting out there? That you're depressed. I'm depressed. Now, what the universe or what that creative medium is going to respond back to you, or what God is going to respond back to you, however you might look at it, our thoughts create our reality. So if I'm depressed and I keep stating over and over that I'm depressed, well then what's going to happen is all kinds of things are going to come forth for me that enable me to continue to be depressed. So it works very well for us. Okay? Whatever it is. So if you can say I am happy, okay, and have some feeling behind that. Now there's the other aspect of it. You have to have some feeling behind it. Usually when it's something negative, like I'm depressed, or I'm not happy, or this isn't working, we have a lot of feeling behind those things. And so we start to create those things. When you change it, the affirmative prayer is for the beginning to change your mind, to change the way you're thinking, so that you move into a more positive state of being, a more positive state of consciousness. So, I am healthy. Now, if you say, I am sick, but I want to be well, that's not an affirmative prayer, okay? Because what you're saying is, I'm sick. I want to be well. Great. Well, you can want to be well for the rest of your life, right? We can always want to be well. The key is to state, I am well. Now, the hard part about affirmative prayer is that, but it's not true. It's just not true. Well, the minute you say that, it's just not true, cancel that. Okay, she says it's not true. Not true. Won't let it be true. What we think is an energy. Our thoughts are energy. And thoughts move out into the energy of creation. So whatever we are thinking moves out there and comes back and creates for us. Affirmative prayer is for the purpose of moving us into some positive ways of thinking so that we can move into it and create that which we desire. So I am healthy and energized, full of expectations for a wonderful day. Woo! Well, what's that going to send out? And what's going to come forth? Okay? I mean, that's the kind of thing that affirmative prayer starts to do. We also say this, it's done unto us according to our belief. And the Bible says this, it is done unto you according to your belief. So what do you believe? Now, if you say, okay, I'm healthy, but you don't believe it, and you say, I'm healthy, well, yeah, I'm saying I'm healthy, but it's really ridiculous. I'm not healthy. I mean, it's very clear, I'm not healthy. I'm sick. I'm in the hospital. I'm going to surgery. You know, and we have all this negative chatter and all these negative thoughts. And what happens is that, okay, you're going to get exactly what you're thinking. So this is the hard part about New Thought. Because it runs contrary to our culture. It runs contrary to our general human nature. It runs contrary to maybe the way that we were brought up. But it's about changing the way you were thinking, because as you change the way you think, you begin to create a new reality. In fact, I just came back from a workshop with Joe Dispenza, and Joe Dispenza, he's becoming world famous for the work that he's doing on neuroscience and brain research and consciousness. And what he says is, we have to get out of living in our past and begin to live our future in order to create the future in our mind. In other words, stop thinking about the past. Start thinking about your future and what you want it to look like, because as you do so, you begin to create it. Think about the thoughts that are coming forward. So when I say affirmative prayer, I am healthy and I am well, I'm planting that thought into the energetic, creative aspect of our world, saying I'm healthy and I'm well and so on, and it's planting it and it's creating that for me. It's creating that future for me. If I say I am sick and I'm depressed and I'm sad and I'm whatever, then it's creating that for my tomorrow. You see, we have to think of affirmative prayer as that which what we state is today is planting those seeds. They're like thoughts going out there for creation, and they begin to create for us. So it's a different way of looking at this. That's why we say we do an affirmative prayer. And then you have to believe it. You have to believe it. Now, the reason why we do affirmations on a regular basis is because you get going, you know, and you say, okay, I'm healthy. All right, done with that. And then you go about your life thinking, oh, I'm so sick. I don't feel very good, and so on and so forth. And you negate it all. So one of the things that we suggest you do is that whenever the negative thoughts start to come back up, that's when you do the affirmative prayer. So you keep changing your consciousness. You keep changing the way you are thinking. So you're always thinking more on a positive note. And you don't give in to the negative. What happens so often is we pray and then we worry. Okay? We pray and then we're, oh, God, I wonder what's going to happen, you know, and we don't trust. Because if you really prayed and knew that this would be so, you wouldn't worry, you wouldn't concern yourself about it, and you would let it go. If you can't do that, then you keep doing the affirmative prayer to keep your consciousness going. I'm going to tell you a little interesting episode that I had. This was actually a year ago. I was doing some exercise, and I did something, and I did something to my back. Well, I didn't know I did something to my back. At any rate, I started to have these chest pains. Okay, this is back in January 2013. I was having these chest pains. What? What's this? You know, I'm well, I'm healthy, I'm good, whatever. I continued doing my exercise. Well, then the chest pains were getting a little bit worse. I thought, well, I guess I better go in and get this checked or whatever. So one night, middle of the night, it's about 2:30 in the morning. And oh my God, I woke up and my chest was just, It was on fire, it was exploding. I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest. I couldn't breathe. You know, all the typical signs of a heart attack. I said, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. And I woke up and I went, and it was 2:30 in the morning. And I do not want to get up and get dressed and go to the emergency room. You know, I'm thinking all this stuff and whatever. And, well, who am I going to call? Who am I going to really wake up at 2:30 in the morning? And I started thinking about the stuff, and I said, this is not going to work. I went in the bathroom, I chopped up 2 aspirin, you know, like you're supposed to do, and I put them under my tongue, and I drank it, whatever, and I'd done it. Everything was fine. I went, oh, it works. So I went back to sleep. So the next day I got up and I went to work, and, you know, throughout the day my chest started hurting again. I went, the aspirin didn't work. So I said, all right, I'm going to go to the urgent care. I go to urgent care, and they give me an EKG, and the doctor comes back out with the EKG, and he says, I want you to take this EKG and get in your car and drive immediately to the emergency room. And I went, oh, really? I said, my heart's fine. I know my heart's fine. My heart's fine. Get in your car and drive over there. And he's kind of pushing me out the door like, hurry, hurry. I said, oh, for heaven's sake. So anyway, I get in my car, I go over to the emergency room. I get in the emergency room, and boom, like that, I'm in a room, and they got all the heart monitors up and this and that, whatever. And I'm like, my heart's fine. My heart's fine. I know that. I know that. Believe that. Doc walks in, and she says, your heart's fine. I said, I know. I know. I said, all right, I'm going home now, right? Oh, no. What causes this pain? I said, I don't know. We think it's your lungs. I said, it's not. My lungs are fine. She said, we're going to test. So I went to an MRI and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, they come back. She says, well, your lungs are fine. Thank you. She says, but you have a small fracture on the 8th vertebrae of your spine, you know. I went, oh. She said, what you had was a back spasm. So the back spasm, you know, looked like a heart attack, and I said, oh, that's cool. Okay, so, you know, and I knew exactly how I did it. It was this exercise thing I was doing. Anyway, I said, okay, I'm going home then, right? No. She says, you need to have a spinal consult or an orthopedic consult. And I went, oh, no. She said, we can't do that unless we admit you. I said, no, I will not be admitted. She said, we will not release you. And she started to give me all this legal mumbo-jumbo about the fact that I could not leave the hospital unless I was officially. I was going, I'm not being admitted. So she says, yes, you are, in order to get this consult, because you're going to have to wear a brace. And we don't want to let you leave this hospital without the brace. Okay, so this is where I went into real affirmative prayer. She walked down and said, number 1, I'm going home. I am not being admitted into the hospital. You know why? Because if you get admitted into the hospital, then it's at least a day before you can get out. At least a day, you know, because they get you in and all the paperwork and all that kind of thing. And I said, no, I'm not going in the hospital. And I'm going to be just fine. I don't need to wear a brace. Okay, this is my affirmative prayer. I mean, I kept saying it over and over, and I believed it. No, this is what it's going to be. I'm going home. Well, so the doc comes back in, and she says, okay, you're going to be admitted. And she says, we can't get you in yet. I kind of smiled and said, oh. She said, there's no beds available. The hospital was full with flu patients. You know, and I went, okay. So she said, we're going to keep you here tonight, and then at 7 a.m. we'll have a room for you. So they brought in a hospital bed and whatever, and I just said, nope. Someone's going to walk in this room and tell me, go home. And I just said, I knew it. And I did not waver from that at all. Matter of fact, I knew it so well, I went to sleep. I had a great night's sleep. 7 a.m., a whole new crew comes in. And they say to me, okay, we got a room for you. And I just smile. I'm saying to myself, no, I'm going home. I am not being admitted. They said, we have a room for you, and the wheelchair is on its way to get you, to put you in the wheelchair, to wheel you up to the room. I'm going, no, I am not going. I'm not going to be admitted. I just kept saying, I'm going home, I'm going home. I just, you know, just sort of like, this was the affirmative prayer, and I believed it. I'm going home. I'm not going to be admitted into this hospital. And so, everybody's doing all their things, and then all of a sudden this other doc walks in, and it's the orthopedic surgeon. So he says, I've been waiting for you to get admitted so I could see you. I finally decided to just come and see you in the emergency room. He says, I looked at your MRI or whatever, and you got this tiny little fraction in this and that. He says, it'll heal itself in 2 to 3 weeks. Go home. So thank you. I got dressed, went home, took a shower, and went to work. But this is what I mean by the affirmative prayer. You do not relent on what it is that you are praying for. Too often we go, oh. Now what if I would have said, oh, okay, I gotta be admitted. Oh, all right. I would have to, so I would call work, I can't get in, and they're doing all this kind of thing. You think this orthopedic surgeon would have found? We create a reality with our thoughts. I don't know. All I knew is that I was not going to be admitted to that hospital. I had to go to work today, I had too many things to do, and I wasn't going to be wearing some crazy brace. So there was a really good thing that came out of that, which is another story, which I'll share with you some other time, aside from the $5,000 hospital bill. Those things, emergency room is expensive. However, the point is that we can affirm that which we want. Too often, we let it go. We let everyone else out here tell us what's going to happen. And all these people telling me you are going to be admitted to the hospital. It is legally right that you be admitted to the hospital. No, you are not going to walk out. Matter of fact, one nurse says, I'm going to take your purse. They were not going to let me leave, and I just laughed at this. I smiled. I'm going home. I just kept saying it and believing it. That's the power of your word. And that's the power of affirmative prayer. Now, sometimes when you don't believe it, the reason why we say your affirmations over and over again is to get yourself to believe them. So how many times can you say, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I am happy, before you begin to go, well, okay, maybe I really am. I am happy. There's some things I'm happy about. Okay, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. I am happy. I am happy. I'm happy! I'm happy! You see, you build it. You build it up. So that you get used to saying it over and over again, and you can do that. You can begin to change your consciousness. As soon as you create this consciousness of happiness, you are going to draw to you that which is going to make you happy. You're going to create a reality that is going to coincide with making you happy. That is the very nature of our prayer. So when we talk about affirmative prayer, one of the things I want to remind you in there is be firm. Okay? Affirm. When you affirm, do not relent on what your prayer is. Believe it, know it, continue with it, so that you can move with it and create it. Because so much about it is where do we put our energy? What do we put our focus on? If you're putting your focus on the fact that you are sick, let's get off the wellness thing. Supposing you put your focus on the fact that you are, not making any money, okay? And you start thinking about that, and I don't have a job, or maybe you recently lost your job, or you have some extra bills, and you start worrying about that. Oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm not, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. What happens? Okay, I'll create that just for you. Circumstances that will not enable you not to be able to pay your bills. So when you say, I can't pay my bills, I am prosperous. Great things are happening in my life. Miracles happen. With God, all things are possible, and I know I will be able to pay my bills. See, now what are you doing? You are creating the thoughts that are going to be that which manifest in your future. Remember, what you think today is what you are creating for tomorrow. And the next day and the next day. It's a hard thing for us to sometimes understand, but that's why affirmative prayer is so powerful. And it depends on where you put your focus. Here's an example. I have a story about Sean Butler. He was a boy in Boston. He was diagnosed with cancer. Nothing was working. The doctor stopped the treatments, and they told the parents he had about 2 weeks to live. Well, the nurses, in talking with Sean, found out that he loved baseball. So the Boston Red Sox, he loved the Boston Red Sox, and his name was Dave Stapleton. So he loved that guy, and he would have loved to have met him. He wanted to meet Dave Stapleton. He's my hero, said the little boy. Well, the nurses got on the phone and got a hold of Stapleton, and he graciously decided to come and spend an afternoon with Sean. They had a great time. They told stories. They laughed and did all kinds of things. And then when Stapleton had to go, he looked into the eyes of Sean and he said, "Tell you what, little buddy, tonight in the game, when I get up to bat the first time, I'm going to get a hit, just." Well, Sean was so excited, and the whole news spread like wildfire everywhere, and everyone was glued to the TV set. A couple of pitches went by, to Stapleton. He's up at bat, first time. And then, all of a sudden, third pitch comes along, and he hooked one of those pitches, and he hit a triple off on the famous green wall of the left field. And Sean leaped up in bed and cheered, and everyone was cheering, and it was a wonderful moment. And then, an interesting thing began to happen. Sean's condition began to improve. Symptoms began to disappear, and doctors couldn't figure it out. He was discharged after 3 weeks, told to go home and play ball. We don't know what happened. We can only call it a miracle. But we know exactly what happened. He changed his focus from being sick to living, to wanting to do something, to living a fun life, to not dying, but to living. You see, when we shift our focus off the negative, or whatever that is, we're not creating that then for tomorrow and the next day. If we change the focus to be something that's positive and exciting and get behind it with feeling and emotion and belief, we create a different future. Sean was a classic example, because what happened is he just, everybody stopped focusing on the fact that this poor little kid was going to die in 2 weeks. They focused on the fact that he loved baseball, and everybody got around baseball and did all these fun and exciting things, and it shifted and it changed. That is the power of our consciousness, the power of our thoughts, and the power of prayer. Okay? Now, a lot of times we fear, or we have fear of what's going to happen. And so with the fear, we sort of negate our prayer. I'm praying, I'm affirming, I know that I'm going to be able to pay all my bills. And then we are afraid of what's going to happen when we become homeless. They take our home, they take our car. We have this fear that gets built up. Well, the fear then becomes more powerful than the positive affirmation. That's one of the things we have to learn, is how to continue to stay with the prayer, to stay with that which we desire, and not let go of it, not let fear take it over, not let circumstances change our course of thinking and being. We really have nothing to fear as long as we put our faith and our trust in God. And that's one of the things that we can do, just put our faith and trust in God. With God, all things are possible. And this is an abundant universe. An abundant universe. And all things that we desire are available to us if we are willing to receive it. If we are willing to receive it. The other thing that we talk about in prayer is to say our affirmative prayer, and then when we release it and we let it go, we don't hang on to it, because when we hang on to it, we don't give it a chance to really move into creative manifestation. By releasing it, we let go of the worry, we let go of the negative thoughts, we just know that it's going to happen. Now, my example in the hospital. Everybody's telling me I'm going to be admitted. I don't mean a wheelchair's on its way to admit me. No, I'm going home. I'm going home. You don't let any circumstance dissuade you from that which you desire. You just have to stay with it. I mean, I literally smiled, but there's no way I'm getting in that wheelchair. Going home. And I didn't know how. I didn't know what was going to happen or how that was going to be, other than I might have had to fight the nurses to get dressed and go out. But I mean, it all worked out just perfectly. I could not have orchestrated that. See, that's what we let go when we let God. And we have to sometimes really let go. We sometimes want to control how it's going to happen. Right? I don't know any control people in here. We want to control it and say, well, we have to do this, we have to do that, and if this doesn't happen, and da-da-da-da. And we get very much in the controlling things, but we then, as we try to make it happen and control it, we limit the opportunities of what is possible with God. All things are possible with God. So sometimes we just have to let go. I have another great story for you. There were two guys parachuting from a plane. Suddenly the wind currents kicked up and the gales began to whisk the men this way and that. And the first guy panicked. And he got into fear, worry, and concern. And he struggled against the wind, and he was tugging with all his might on the cords of the chute. And he fought to keep them untangled, but in trying to keep them untangled with the wind, he actually struggled against it and made the parachute became even more tangled. And finally, they were so tangled in such a way that he came in extremely fast and was seriously injured with multiple broken bones. Not a good ending for that. And he said, well, thank you, God, I'm alive. That was his prayer. I'll be alive. Well, he was alive. Okay? But he was so afraid of getting hurt, and that's exactly what happened. Now, the second guy, realizing the power of the wind and the air currents, he let go. He didn't struggle against them. He just went with the flow. And he didn't fight the current, and he wasn't afraid. He said, I'll just end up wherever I end up. But he just allowed it to carry him wherever he went. Finally, he was dropped off in the safety of a field, which just happened to be exactly where he wanted to land. Having been swept along by the force of the current, he just happened to get there a lot faster. You see, sometimes we try to control everything and make it work just the way we want it to work, when rather if we just let go. I mean, I could have at any point in my hospital story said, get me the manager, or I don't know, get me the senior doctor, or whatever, I'm going home. I could have forced it, done this and that, and, become a really nasty little thing. But I didn't. I said, no, I just kind of smiled. I said, no, I'm going home. Now, I didn't say that to everybody, because what happens is when you do that, they don't understand. No, you don't understand, you're being admitted. And then they want to argue with you. And I didn't argue with them, just like, they'd leave and say, no, going home, someone's going to walk into this room, and they're going to say, go home, go home. I visualized it, I knew it, I prayed it, boom, and that's exactly what happened. So, rather than trying to force what I wanted to happen, I simply affirmed what I wanted to happen. That's the power of affirmative prayer. We let go of how that's going to happen. And let it be. Then finally, talking too long today. Finally, I just want to say the last thing that we should be aware of is if ever you have a problem getting into that powerful affirmative state of mind, move yourself into gratitude. Okay? There's always something you can be grateful for. If being alive. I mean, there's always that. You're still here. Okay? You might still have your eyes. You might still be able to see. You might still be able to walk around no matter what's going on. You have something to be grateful for. Because if you move into a state of gratitude, gratitude is the ultimate receiver of our good. Okay? You want to receive more good, move into gratitude, because gratitude signals, she's grateful. And when we're grateful, we just are grateful for more things. So I move into a state of gratitude, and I give a prayer of gratitude. What am I creating for tomorrow? Something to be grateful for. So as we move into gratitude, we are creating more of that which we are going to be grateful for. It's a powerful state of receivership of our good. So even if you can't, generate that enthusiasm and that excitement with your affirmation, like I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. If you can't generate it with that, then do it with gratitude. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this. And you will find that as you start to really move into gratitude, you will find that you relax and that you'll find more peace. And I'm grateful. And then begin to be grateful for that which you desire, because that will be your affirmative prayer. I am grateful for my perfect health. I am grateful for my prosperity. I am grateful for my joy. Because then, with that gratitude feeling, that is exactly what moves out into the incredible creative energy of our universe, and it is created in ways that are absolutely miraculous. There is nothing more exciting about your thought than our affirmative prayer and our way of praying and knowing that as we believe it and know it and say it with firmness and intention and gratitude, that it will be done. And that is why we say, and so it is. Together, and so it is. All right.